Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. Hey, you guys, it's Thursday, and we are here for Handmaid's Tale. I almost said Queen Sugar. Oh, I miss Queen Sugar. I miss Greenleaf. I miss good TV. Yeah. Anyway, we're here for Handmaid's Tale. This is season 4, episode 4. Typically, I would have done it Wednesday evening. I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm also okay with Thursday. Yesterday was like an action-packed day for me, like sun up, sun down. By the time I got out of the shower last night, I was so exhausted, like so tired in my body. There's no way I could have done it. But I'm here now to do it. It was a good episode. If I have to choose an MVP for this episode 4, it's gonna be Rita. Yeah, Rita's my girl now because I think in her quiet silence, Rita gets it, right? Like she gets it. She, unlike a lot of the characters in this season, um, doesn't have this sabotagey mindset. Like she's not, working against herself. Rita's just trying to be. She doesn't know how to be because she's basically been in captivity for some years. But now that she's free, she's just trying to be. We're going to talk about Rita, but definitely she's my MVP. And I know if you've seen the episode, you're surprised maybe to hear me say that because Janine was very prominent in this episode as well. But Janine is really not one of my favorite characters. She's not. Janine is like having a crying baby. You guys know I have an issue with weakness and meekness, mealy mouthness types. You know, I've got an issue with it. You guys pray for me, okay? But yeah, this is one of the reasons why Janine isn't one of my favorite characters. But in this episode, we do get to learn a little bit more about Janine post Gilead. But when we come into this episode, we see where June is using something to cut loose the hand shackles that they have on. And I kept thinking, I hope that was something she got out of Nick's pockets when she was kissing him. I'm just not fully convinced that June is in love with Nick, and I'm not fully convinced that Nick is. I'm not sure where Nick stands. Like I really don't know, honestly, what's up with Nick. But I don't think necessarily that June is buying it all. I'm just kind of waiting for things to unfold a little bit more. That way we can learn a little bit more about what's going on with June. I think we've gotten accustomed to June being, the martyr, the leader, the charge individual for the whole, Mayday rebellion front. But in this episode, we do get to see a softer side of June, a remorseful side of June, thanks to Janine. But let's get into it. Again, the ladies have pried off their hand shackles, and Janine, Janine is I won't say she's touched. Janine has been through a lot. Janine basically had a mental break, and she pretty much has never returned to like a full cognitive place, right? Um she's slightly insane now, you know. Um and she wants to go back because maybe they survived, like maybe the train just bumped them off, and they're just on the side of the road and someone's hurt. She's talking about Alma and Rihanna, who were killed by the speeding train. They didn't quite make the track, and um I don't know. I wondered, and I think maybe if we weren't in COVID and everything wasn't a big rush to get completed and finished, I think we probably could have had a little bit more revelation during that Rihanna Alma train situation, because part of me feels like, you know, a train is just not something that sneaks up on you, right? Like you're running and you see the train, you see the proximity of the train, and you know, it's something, I don't know. It seems like you can tell like distance and proximity, like the speed of the train, and if I can make it, I can't make it. I don't know. Something makes me feel like they knew, or I'd like to know if they knew, if they saw, if they judged proximity and they were just like, go for it. If we die, we die. Anything from to me would be better than going to a breeding farm. Anything to me would have been better than going to than staying in Gilead. Like it's a horrific place, especially if you're a female, right? A female who is still able to give birth, have children, carry a child, right? But June assures Janine that they have to push on. They're going to follow the tracks, and they're going to see if they can find someone from Mayday to help them, you know. Find something, find some way out. Like, we're free. We're just going to follow these tracks and push on. And you find a lot of times when people are escaping one place or another, or escaping from, you know, pursuing enemy, they tend to find the railroad tracks and follow the railroad tracks, or if there's a river, they follow the river, right? Like it's from slavery days, I think, is where people learn this idea, this notion from. I would think that there would be guards everywhere looking for them. I mean, here you have two white women in what looks like a post-apocalyptic industrial Cold War town. Everything is black and brown and dingy, except these vibrant red outfits and these starch white, like habit type hats that they have on. Like, girl, get in these woods and wallow in some mud and get low, right? No, it's fine. So they get to a train yard, and when they get to the train yard, it's dark time. By this time, it's dark time. Someone needs a vacation. Anywho, and Janine's like, oh, so are we gonna get on this train and we gonna go to Boston? I heard that Boston is, you know, and June is like, we're not going to Boston, we're going west. We're trying to find somebody in Mayday that could help us. That like we're gonna go and join up with this Mayday situation. And Janine is like, what's West? I mean, I don't get it. This is what we're doing, Janine. You know, and like I said, having Janine along is like having a whining child. Like, Janine can be annoying. Janine is, the squeaky wheel of all squeaky wheels. Like, the moment you need a baby to be silent, you know what I'm saying? So that they are not found or discovered, that's when they cry. That's Janine. That is Janine. Janine is, you know. So June overhears the guards talking about one of the trains going to Chicago, and that's what they're going to do. So they're fighting in Chicago. Like, Chicago is still fighting with Gilead, resisting. So apparently this Gilead movement is encroaching on other states. And I only point this out because we're kind of in that place right now. That is one of the reasons why this series is so popular, because, sex trafficking is you know in this series. Um it's wildly rampant in 2021 in these United States right now, in all of the world really, but in the United States, I mean, daily there are people. The war against sex trafficking is huge. Like, they are busting into these houses where girls are being kept and drugged. A lot of them are underage children. And we're not talking about just girls, but girls and boys. Like, the sex trafficking ring is really prevalent right now. And so to see it here, we have to make it applicable to right now. Just like the whole situation with a woman's choice and pro-choice and forced breeding and whatever happened to cause the diminish of birth rate. We're seeing that right now in 2021. So a lot of people are making it applicable to what's going on with Handmaid's Tale, making applicable to what's happening right now as a foreshadowing, as a warning uh, for us. If we don't vote, if we don't pay attention to what's really happening out there politically and the moves that are being made, then we could find ourselves in a very similar situation. And the fact of the matter is, it's kind of already being put in motion, been set in place to happen, right? And so, yeah, I mean, we're just, I mean, it's a slippery slope one way or another, and we could find ourselves in this post-apocalyptic, you know, type of setting. Also, we see fighting against this individualism with states. Instead of having, federal mandates for things, we're letting individual states decide how they're going to handle voting, how they're going to handle abortion rights and voter suppression. And even with everything that's going on with the masks and vaccines, we're seeing Florida take a particular stance against vaccines and voter suppression and voters' rights, as well as abortion. We're seeing it in Georgia, heavy, heavy, heavy. In a lot of the Bible Belt states, we're seeing that heavy. And you're thinking, oh, the federal government's not going to allow yada, yada, yada. But a lot of the stuff that's happening, the federal government it can't do anything about it or won't do anything about it. Like, we could see Chicago fighting with Florida. We could see Florida, fighting with, let's say Seattle, or California, which is a lot more liberal state. Like, we could see that happening, if it's completely possible, right? That's one of the reasons why this show is so wildly popular within the last few years. Certainly within the last 4 years that we had 45 in office. So I just wanted to point that out. I felt like I kind of missed that with the first 3 episodes when we saw Jezebel, the house that was supposed to be a brothel, but it was really a sex trafficking ring. And so I felt like we needed to point that out. Even with the breeding farms, I feel like it needs to be pointed out. Like this, it's all fiction until it isn't anymore. And when we don't pay attention, it's like water damage. You don't hear it, you don't see it, and before you know it, you all behind the wall is rotted out and covered in mold, right? Like you have to pay attention, right? And we have to stay abreast. So, they decide they're going to hop this train. They hop this train and they go down into a tank. June sees that one of the tanks, it's open and she's going to jump down in it. Now, these tanks are what they carry, like water in, milk, chemicals, grain. And it was that kind of tank. And they jump down into it and it's ice cold milk. Ice cold milk, right? And they've jumped down into this milk, and being cold and being wet is no different than being hungry or being in pain or being tired. It brings out the absolute worst in you, and it's not something you can necessarily control, especially when there's someone else there. And so June continues to kind of try to assure Janine that they're going to be fine, that she's going to take care of her, yada, yada, yada. Janine is pissed because Janine is cold and Janine is wet and she is smelling like sour milk. You know what I'm saying? And she's angry. She wants to know. She says, you told us no one was supposed to know where we were. You're the only one that knew where we were. Did you tell? Did you tell? Did you tell? And she was like, Alma and Rihanna were the kindest and the sweetest. You know what I'm saying? Alma and Rihanna kept Janine moving and occupied. They were in charge of making sure Janine wasn't somewhere setting a small fire. You know what I'm saying? Or whistling and waving at a guard. You know what I'm saying? Hello, beautiful day we're having here. Where she's supposed to be hiding, right? And so Alma loved them. Janine loved Alma and Rihanna. And she wanted to have this moment. Well, June is not allowing herself to have this moment because she's just trying to focus on the plan, right? She is hurt that and devastated that Alma and Rihanna are dead. But she's just trying to keep her head in the game. And Janine want to talk about it. She says, no one's supposed to know. Did you tell? And she just keeps on with that until June says, yes, I had to tell. I had to tell because they had my baby, Hannah. They were going to hurt Hannah. And I couldn't let that happen. And so Janine's quiet for a moment, but she was like, Alma loved you. And all she kept saying was, we can't move. We can't leave here. We can't leave June. We can't leave June. And that's why they were exactly where June said they were, was because Alma said, we're not going nowhere without June. I still would like to know where the little girl at? Where's Miss Keys? Killer Keys. Where's she at? Because she, I watched episode 2 from My Twisted Life of Poetry. If I have not mentioned that, she is also doing Handmaid's Tale. Not a lot of people are doing Handmaid's Tale, by the by. but black content creators. I mean, So and she suspects Miss Keys may have been the one to tell it. She may have. She may have. We've not seen her since. Like, where are they? Where's Commander Keys? Like, we don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna say we ain't leaving. We ain't leaving without them. And Mrs. Keys wasn't with them. Esther Keys wasn't with them when they got caught, from what we know. So, um, you know, this makes June feel even worse, right? And so, uh, you know, they're all huddled down, and Janine says, I wouldn't have told. I was like, Janine, girl, you would have spilt it, baby. You would have drew a map in crayon. You would have did it. Okay. June gets up and stands over Janine, and she tells her, she said, I should have never brought you with me. I should have let you go a long time ago. I was like, somebody said it. I was thinking it. I'm like, June, she gonna get you busted. She gonna get you caught, girl. Janine is one of them people that you smother accidentally because you're trying to keep them quiet to keep y'all both from getting killed. Janine, that's Janine. I'm just saying. Anyway, we keep getting flashbacks of Janine. We get really two major flashbacks of Janine post Gilead, I guess. This is when things first started happening, where birthing and rates had gone down really low, and there was this increase in the religious right to prevent abortions. We see where Janine has a little job, and she is called out of that job because she has found herself pregnant. She already has a son, Caleb, and she doesn't want to have another baby. So she goes to what she thinks is an abortion clinic. This is Janine with two eyes and red hair, and like she looks completely different without this red habit on. It's really weird because the actress that plays Janine does an excellent job. When we see like a fresh face Janine, she looks really healthy. She looks really good, very natural, very wholesome. She still always kind of seems like she was a little bit flighty, little bit on the lighthearted side, but she was much healthier than. She looks completely different. I don't know if it's just that they're shot different. They're shot in this more paler type of complexion. Their hair doesn't seem as healthy. They seem smaller. They seem more Anne Frankish. You know what I mean? Like Anne Frank, all that time in that attic. I think in reading the book, we talked about just, the effects of not having a lot of sunlight and all of that. So this actress is really able to portray Janine in Gilead as a much more frailer, fragile, shout out to A Christmas Story, fragile character, right? And she's given us full on stellar acting with this whole mentally challenged or mentally fragile character of Janine. But we see her in full vibrancy. She goes into what she thinks is an abortion clinic, but it belongs to the religious right, basically. And they've trapped her there and trying to talk her into keeping her baby. We see in where she's in this small like basement apartment after she's come from there, and she's got Christmas lights in the kitchen. And then later on we see her with her little boy. The little boy couldn't have been anything more than 3 or 4. And we see her in the bedroom, and she's just got like a little small bit of light there, like candlelight there. And I'm like, is there not power? Is there not light? I'm like, child, we got to be paying attention. We got to pay attention to what it really looks like when ish goes bad, when ish goes south. You know what I'm saying? In terms of your government, in terms of the PUC, public utilities, and the PUC, Public Utility Commission. You know what I'm saying? We got to really be thinking about water, power, food source, that type of thing, because yeah, I think it's a very real possibility, you guys. Y'all tell me what you think. Y'all put that down below. But then we see where Janine goes back. This is all a flashback, and it happens on two occasions, but I'm going to sum them both up for you here. Where she goes back to the doctor, and now she's at a real doctor's office, right? And she starts to explain herself why she's got this baby. She wants to go back to school. The job that she has barely supports her and her son, Caleb. And she doesn't, and the doctor's like, listen, do you want to be pregnant right now? And she was like, no. She said, that's all I need to know. And I'm required by law to tell you this whole list of bull crap that's not true. That could possibly happen to you, like breast cancer, memory loss, mental health, and all this stuff could happen to you if you go through with this abortion. But none of that, all of that's poppycock, right? And Janine is relieved. She's relieved because here she doesn't have to worry about being ashamed or explaining herself. Like it's all pretty, clinical. And so we learned a lot about her. It made me want to know what happened to her baby Caleb. Was her baby Caleb taken? And like Hannah, was he given over to another family in order for them to have a child, and denying Janine her baby? Is that where she kind of started to lose it a little bit mentally, to come undone? Or did it all fully happen when she had to give up the baby that she had for the family that she was enslaved to? I mean, she always seemed a little bit off. I think June took her under her wing very early on. Um, but I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, it gave us another side of Janine. And so the girls haven't talked at all after this whole conversation, June and Janine, where Janine accused her of telling, and said, I wouldn't tell. And June said, I should have left you where I found you. They haven't talked at all until they hear shooting outside of the tank. And June is a brave soul. She wants to go out and see. And Janine is like, I don't know. I'm like, well, Janine, y'all can't live in this tank, boo. Y'all can't live in this tank. At some point, y'all got to get out of this tank, right? June done found the plug and let the milk out. But you're still cold and wet and damp in there, ma'am. Anyway, June goes out to see what's going on, and it is quite a surprise. But before we get into that, what we always do is we also talk about what's going on in Canada. And so in Canada, we open up with Rita making bread, and she's kind of making like this bread offering. That's what she was in Gilead. She was a Martha. She did all the cooking, and she was like the house manager, right? And so she's making bread, and she's going to do a small dinner, handmade bread for Moira. And I think this is her way of showing her appreciation. What I love the most about Janine is we get a lot of quiet moments from, not Janine, quiet moments from Rita, where she is just reflecting and just taking it all in. This is her first time in many, many years being free. And she doesn't know how to fully accept that or relax in that. We also get to see it from Emily, who formerly known as Off Glen. So we also get to see that awkwardness too, right? So they're having this lovely dinner, and Moira just blurts out that there is no record of your sister or your nephew in any of the registers. So apparently, when people are able to escape and they bring them into Canada, they put them on a registry. That way, families can connect, kind of like what they did with Hurricane Katrina. So you can know if your family's alive or okay, and that type of thing. No, very similar. Anyway, so and it's a moment, and then they have this conversation about freedom, and Moira reminds her, you are free. This is what it is. Like, you're free to come and go. Like, you're free to live your life. She's got this little small apartment in Canada, and she also learns that Serena wants to see her, Serena Waterford. And she's like, why does she want to see me? It must be trouble. And she was like, no, you're not in trouble. You can't be in trouble. You're free. And she's locked up. She doesn't have any rights or rules or regulations over you anymore. Like, she's not in control of you anymore. And so Rita does go and see her. And when she goes to see her, she's very, very trepidatious. She's hesitant. Like, she's not sure. I mean, here is a woman that could turn on a dime and just be full on evil to her, right? She has walked on eggshells for many years in the Waterford household. And Serena's like, come in. I'm so glad to see you. It's so nice to see a friend. And have a seat here. And she immediately tells her that she's pregnant. She's with child. And she shows her a picture of the baby and tells her it's a boy. And can you imagine? I can't wait for you to help me raise him. We're going to be so excited. I was like, ma'am, you're in jail. You're in jail, boo. And of course, when they first meet, it's this religious speak under his eye and in the light, and we're seeing Rita do this whole episode where she kind of can't let that go, that religiosity go, and I wonder if if it's a real faith for her, or if it was something that she had to do for so long that it has become like breathing it almost, you know what I mean? Because you can't believe any type of religion that Gilead is under is a religion for you. How is that possible? I don't know. Anyway, let me not judge, honey. Let me not judge. Anywho, so she's just so, it is just, can you imagine? And it's this little boy and yada yada yada. And Rita's got tears in her eyes because here's a woman who was, for all intents purposes, barren, and now she's pregnant. And what does Mr. Waterford say? I haven't told him. I haven't let him know. This is kind of going to be my thing, right? And Rita, all she does is look at that picture and she cries, and she's like, I'm so glad to have a friend here. It's going to be nice to have a friend, someone I can trust and I can rely on. And I've really missed you. I was like, oh, she is licking boots. Oh, somebody is being so syrupy sweet. I'm telling you, my Twisted Life of Poetry has really given me a good hard shake when it comes to Serena Joy. Because I was like, oh, she's a victim. Oh, she's been abused too. She doesn't know she's abused. She thought it was just punishment. No, she's a witch. She's a witch. She had a lot to do with what was going on. She had a lot to do with the design of how they treated the ladies, the girls. So, Serena Joy, you get no more sympathy, boo. None. And so, later on, Rita gets a package. She gets a visit from Tuello, And Tuelo's got a package and packages for when she goes to court. And Sarita's like, I've already testified, about what happened to me in Gilead. Like, I've already been deposed. Like, I don't know why. And she was like, oh, no, you're specifically going to be testifying as a character witness for Serena. And she evidently, after your visit, she really felt like you were a good friend to her and you would be a good person to speak on her behalf and speak on how she suffered in Gilead. And so it was like a light bulb just came on for Rita, baby. It's all very quiet. You never see her angry or enraged or anything like that. What you see is she gets sort of there's this glaze that comes over her, this realization, the connecting of the synapses, if you will. And she says, did you know in Gilead I was considered their property? Like my old Nissan, I was even registered. And the next thing we see is, baby, we see Rita in there visiting Commander Waterford. And now it's very different. She was very trepidatious when she went to see Serena. She was crying and looking at the picture. I'm sure she was thinking about her own self and the possibility of maybe having a child for her own self, the hope of it all, and all of that. She wasn't there yet. She was so astonished by this news, and now she's in full realization, baby. Not only am I free, but I got a say and I got a choice. Okay. I do not have to be pulled back and forth between the Waterfords. I do not have to be in the Waterfords mess. And so Mr. Waterford's like, oh, Rita, you're here. And she was like, yes, I'm here. And he was like, what a lovely surprise. She was like, this is not a friendly visit. And he was like, well, I mean, it's so good to see a friend. She said, we are not friends. We are not friends. I was like, baby, this what I'm talking about. This what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Okay. You have been held down. You have been held captive, but your mind don't have to stay there. Your body is not there anymore. Your mind doesn't have to stay there. You know what I'm saying? We have to rage against the machine. This is what indoctrination is. It is long after you have been freed, long after you have been unsnared from the enemy's grips, and you still behaving like you still in them grips, right? What I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like you got to rage against it. You got to rage against it, baby. Ooh, 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 ooh. And I'm talking to my people here. We can learn a lot from Rita in this situation. And she lets him know, we're not friends. I'm not cool with you. That was some of the hardest stuff I've ever been through, basically. It was horrific for me. And he said, Rita, I was never ever cruel to you. Captivity itself is cruelty, Mr. Waterford. That's what I was thinking. And Rita didn't say anything. Rita was just went on in her purse and got that little sonogram picture, boo, and gave it to him. He just looking at it. He don't know what it mean and trying to figure it out. And Rita said, after he said, I've never been cruel to you, Rita said, I'm going to pray for your son. And he looked down. That's when he opened the envelope and looked down and he see it's a picture of a baby. Right? So she done set Serena Joy up because she know if Mr. Waterford know it's gonna be a different situation. He gonna fight her a little bit differently. He gonna work a little bit differently. Right? And she letting them both know, don't call me no more. Don't call me round here. Do not call me round here. And then the next scene we see of Rita is she is sitting in front of a window, her kitchen window in her apartment at the table, and she's got a lovely spread of delicious little tasty things, that she didn't have to make herself. that she didn't have to cook herself. It ain't nobody's leftovers. She went to the store and got these lovely, tasty things for herself. And she's sitting there and enjoying the sunshine. And she's enjoying hearing the children playing in the background. She's just enjoying her freedom. She don't owe nobody nothing. Nothing. Eyes free now. Eyes free. Let's go back to Chicago. Let's go back to the train. Let's go back to Janine and June. Janine and June come up out of that tank and they got guns on them. After a few words of exchanges, they realize this is a small force of I don't know what you call the people that it's like a small faction. And basically they disrupted the train and shot all the guards to take all of the goods and wares off the train. Apparently, food is scarce in Chicago. They're in full on war. It's like parts of the Middle East, that you see the war torn buildings and smoldering fires of buildings that have been bombed and cars that have been set on fire, and there's like, it's not a thriving metropolis. It is basically this war torn state, and it looks war torn, right? And these individuals have gotten their own little group together. If you guys ever seen Walking Dead, everybody, people who have survived are in these little groups and little camps and little teams and stuff. And this group is ran by this guy. And he was like, what the hell? You're handmaids, when he sees them. And he doesn't want to take them with him because he feels like there are going to be people looking for you. You're going to bring like the heat down on us. And June convinces him they're on the run. They're trying to find Mayday. And he was like, who? Basically, what are you talking about? June was like, yeah, like we can help, we can work, we can earn our way. We just need your help. Like we need, help. And so he was like, that's fine. And the worst thing I think she could have said was, we're willing to do anything. So if you're a woman, it's the last thing you should ever say to a male. Is I'll do anything. You know what I mean? Just don't do it, because immediately it's gonna involve your knees and you getting down on them, right? Like it is. Anyway, we already at 42 minutes, so I don't want to get into that whole thing, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting, right? So get back, and he says, well, we don't have a lot of food because, Janine is anxious and nervous, and June is trying to keep her calm. And she's like, can we get her something to eat? She's hungry. And he was like, half of us haven't eaten in weeks. This is the first load of food we've gotten. Okay. And we really don't have the capacity to take on anyone else. And June is like, oh no, we can do things like and she means we can fight. We can, help out. We can do whatever we can. She never meant I can give you head. But he was like, that's fine. Take them and get them some warm clothes and some food, little something to eat. And before they could leave out good, he said, which one of y'all are staying with me? And June is like, what are you talking about? He was like, you said you can do anything. One of y'all gonna have to pay. What else do you have? Right? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? Like, women, seriously. Anyway. It's like, just treat it like shit. I'm just gonna say it. Like, altogether, it's hard. I'm telling you, it's hard being a woman. I'm not saying it's a walk in the park being a man, but a woman, when I tell you a girl child ain't safe in this world, You got to fight. And all your life, you going to have to fight. Anywho. So June goes over there and he stands up and opens his pants up. And she is, I mean, first of all, you have got to reek, sir. You have got to stink beyond all stinkosity. You have got to stink. You just came off a revolutionary assault, okay? In the blazing hot goddamn sun. You look dirty. Y'all ain't got a pot or a window that you ain't stole. Okay, I know you stink. I know you ain't bathing. You got the nerve to think somebody want to put their mouth on your rank, raunchy wiener. It's disgusting and it's belittling and it's humiliating to even suggest it. Where is your freaking shame? I'd have bit his goddamn. Listen, this is why the Lord did not give me superpowers, okay? Because zap! You give me if the Lord had given me laser beam for eyes, baby. I'd have cut him in half. Zzz. Anywho, he sees how nervous and shaken she is, and he says, hey, I'm not going to force you. You guys can just go. And June gets up and gets the hell on. I don't blame you, June. I'd rather pitch a tent. I'll trap rats and eat them before I put my mouth on your nasty, rotten tellywhacker. So she goes back, and Janine is, of course, her brain is clicked off fear and clicked on fun. She's like, hey, these are pretty great clothes. Go through them. They've got plenty. Clothes is one of the few things they got plenty of it. June is like, we got to go. And she was like, but why? I thought we've got to go. She was like, oh, what happened? Did he hurt you? And she was like, no, we got to go. I'll just find us a place. And, and June is just about broken. She's already feeling bad about Rihanna and Alma. She's already feeling bad about the fact that she turned them up and let Gilead know where they were. And she's been cold. She's been wet. She's been humiliated. And she is this close to losing it. She goes and takes off all of that Gilead stuff and piles it up and puts on those other clothes, and she sits there and she just looks at him, and she's just sad. She's just sad. Well, Janine sent her on to get dressed, after they, she said, did he hurt you? And she was just like, I'll take care of us. And she was like, well, go on and put some warm clothes on. This is Janine. And she looks back over her shoulder. And when she did that, I knew what she was going to do. And so when June was sitting there in full contemplation and just thinking about, what have I done? And, is this even worth it? Should I just give up? What should I do? Should I jump in front of a train? You could just see it in just how her shoulders have fallen. And here comes Janine, and she sits down and gives June a sandwich, and she said, he said we can stay. And June looks at her and she said, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, actually. And she starts eating the sandwich, and June leans over and she says, I'm sorry. And I think that's what Janine always wanted. Janine, it felt like I followed you into the fire. Yeah, I needed you too, but I don't want you to think I'm completely gone. I don't want you to feel like I'm completely useless. And you always just tell me what to do and tell me it's going to be okay. And you never give me the dirty details. You never trust me with the plan. You never let me participate in the plan or help make the plan. And I think that's what Janine was saying. Janine was saying you can't just keep going in cowboy style, kamikaze, and dragging me along and not giving me the benefit of knowing or choosing what it is I am being drug into. I think that's what Janine was trying to say. And I also think by doing what she did with Nasty Man, she was also saying, I can contribute something. I can contribute something. And lucky for me, I'm able to turn my brain off. So that was really the episode. It was actually a very, very tender moment. I think that apology that June gave Janine was extremely important. I think it was key and it was pivotal to us really seeing June differently going forward in the next few episodes, because June has been having this sort of devil may care, balls to the walls, just not really caring about the repercussions. Everything has been done under the guise of helping others, but I think it's all been for ultimately June herself. And in trying to help, I think she's been very selfish. So yeah, so hopefully those things will change. But without further ado, I want to remind you guys to please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. I'm having a lot of trouble getting people to hit the thumbs up button. I don't know what's the story with that. But I'd really appreciate if you give me a thumbs up. And of course, I'd love to talk to you guys down below. You guys don't have a lot of comments for me with this show. I'd love to talk about it a little bit more. But until next time, honeybees, mwah, mwah, mwah. I'll holla.